Governments in democracy are supposed to be accountable to voters. For Kevan Chapman, Communications Director for Congressman Vernon Ehlers, this affects the focus of PR in government.
Primarily, we want to communicate with constituents in Michigan's 3rd Congressional District. I think it may vary from office to office, but for us, for Congressman Ehlers, I think he does everything with the thought in the forefront of his mind that he's working for the constituents of Michigan's 3rd District. And that ranges from things like, supporting local public transportation efforts, all the way up to his larger efforts on math and science education that may seem, when he's talking about them in a global context, it still filters back to the constituents. And I think people there like to hear that they have a congressman who wants to be a leader on these kind of issues. And in addition, they're the folks who vote for him every couple of years. So they're the people that we serve here. They're our primary audience. You could argue equally that the local media is also our primary audience, or the national media or trade publications as well, because they're also interested in what we're doing, and it's good for them to hear what we're doing, and especially the local media, like I said. But as long as it gets down to the constituents, that's really who Congressman Ehlers wants to hear his message, and that's who I really try to reach, and who I try to think about every time I put together a communications effort. When I came here, I kind of wrote a communications strategy, and I actually have the objective here on a sheet of paper, and I'll just read it. This is very overarching, more of a kind of higher level thing, but our main objective was establish a system for communicating key issues with the members of the local and national media, constituents, and interested parties to increase public awareness of Congressman Ehlers using traditional and non-traditional forms of media. And that's been kind of more of a mission statement kind of a thing, but it encapsulates our objectives, which are hit the key issues, communicate to the constituents, and use every form of media that we can that is practical. A lot of people in Grand Rapids area know Congressman Ehlers for some of the areas where he's heavily involved. He's an environmentalist. He cares a lot about education. He's a former educator. He cares about manufacturing, jobs, those kind of things. So when we look at our communications, what are our objectives? Are we communicating on these key issues? Are we reinforcing Congressman Ehlers as a go-to guy in the media and a leader in Congress that our constituents can see that he is working hard on these issues? Then I think that's our objective. Congressman Ehlers does the work here every day. It's just a matter of getting that out and making sure that we're focusing on those areas and letting people know what's going on. It can be hard to research our audience if you're talking constituents. We have a really diverse constituency. We have people from all walks of life with all sorts of interest, and you never get to know each and every person individually to kind of know what their issues are. But there are some overarching themes in West Michigan, as you probably know, and these days, people are very concerned about the economy, jobs, and just keeping, just like Congressman Ehlers said, just keeping your finger on the pulse of what's going on, reading the local papers, paying attention to the local blogs. What are people saying? What are people concerned about? I mean, that's one way to definitely, for me to research what we should be focusing on, what people are looking to hear. Never be afraid to ask a question to a reporter. Not being afraid to have an open dialogue, for me at least, has really helped me in fleshing out, well, what is this reporter looking for? That's a form of research for me. I like to find out a lot about what the expectations are, what the story's about, and even things like what are the deadlines, and are very important to know. When it comes down to it, all the so-called tactical work that we're doing, the micro decisions that we're making on a day-to-day basis on what to communicate on this or that. We try to, for me, try to filter back up through that communication strategy and ask the question, is this reaching the audience we want to reach, and is this the information that we want to focus on? We have a strategy, a high-level strategy that lines up his key issues, and those are jobs, environment, transportation in Michigan roads, the highway tax, science and math education, competitiveness. So we, and then with this objective, we also identify our audiences and that we want to try to stick to those key issues if we are doing proactive communications guiding. And I try to look at those issues every few weeks just to remind myself, well, where are we going? I talk to Congressman Ehlers a lot about, well, what does he want to reach out on? I'll admit that I'm not always 100% efficient at doing this, but a lot of times if we do a press release, we'll try to get some video of him on the floor talking about it, or a sound bite that we can attach for the radio stations to take, put something on Facebook or YouTube to accompany it, and then maybe send out an e-newsletter notifying constituents about a key voter effort that he's involved in. It's always, when you identify something that you really want to communicate, I always try to think of what aspect or what media can we use to get this out. And you're right, it's never as simple as just issuing a press release and forgetting about it. There's always something else you can do. It might be just calling and following up with the folks in the media who got it. It may be taking that e-newsletter that you sent to constituents and including a poll that they can respond on and interact with, or including a video of Congressman Ehlers talking about it, so they, instead of just reading something that they may process and delete, they'll watch a video of him actually saying it, which is a lot more hard-hitting than I think just receiving some text in your inbox. But it's a multi-front effort, and I think with the tools that we have here, Congress, I think, might have been a little slower on the uptake on a lot of things, but a lot of offices here now are using YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, to try to get this stuff out. And the media here on Capitol Hill are paying attention to that thing. Constituents are paying attention. YouTube created a congressional gateway where anyone can go to find their member of Congress if they're on YouTube and watch their videos, go to their channel. It's really the sky's the limit right now, and people are trying new things all the time. Evaluating results for us, we don't do polls. In terms of any of that kind of thing, it would basically come back down to time and expense. We're a public office, and we're a good steward. Congressman Ehlers wants to be a good steward of public money, and there's no, quantifiable measure for us that we can turn and look at and say, oh, we were 80% successful with that communications campaign. He does a lot of telephone town halls with constituents, and I listen in on those when he does those, so it's very insightful for me to see what constituents are saying to him, because that is the rawest form of feedback you can get on your communications. The news stories, how many news stories did we get as a result of this campaign, and did it measure up to what we thought we were going to get? Did we do this press release and media availability thinking all the media outlets in our district were going to cover it and only 2 did? Well, that would be disappointing, but I guess it's still not quite a fully quantifiable measure, because even if only 2 outlets did it, and one was the Grand Rapids Press, which has a wide circulation and an online presence, we don't know how many people received it and how they reacted to the news. So we don't do focus groups. We don't do polls, but I think everything comes back to hearing what the constituents are saying. And for Congressman Ehlers, what are people saying to him when he goes home, when he goes to church, to the grocery store? That's my feedback when he comes back to Washington after a weekend and says, "Oh, someone saw the interview on Wood Radio or heard the interview on Wood Radio with me, and they said that they wanted to hear more about this," or he gets a lot of feedback directly from constituents. And for me, also just talking to folks in the media, what are they coming back to me and saying? What kind of questions do they have for me? If I can go back and visit the district at all, I'll try to sit down with some reporters if I can. And what are they saying? What are their concerns for Congressman Ehlers? It's another good way to gauge how our efforts have been received. I think you need to be interested in politics in order to come here and do this. Otherwise, you'll be lost. And maybe that doesn't go for everything, but I think just having that background is a huge help, and even a passing interest in this sort of stuff is definitely required for coming here and doing this kind of work. A lot of people come here as PR graduates, just cold calling congressional offices. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I think it's a pretty good strategy for people who want to work on the Hill to just come down, introduce yourself, drop your resume off, try to talk to the chief of staff in a lot of these offices, narrow down your search to offices that you're interested in or have members with policy experience that you like, or positions that you like. And then focus on those offices. Maybe try to get an internship. A lot of people start off with internships here. It stinks if you're looking for a full-time paid job to take an internship, but that's how a lot of people get their foot in the door here. If you can network at all within some of the congressional offices, it's a great thing to do.